The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 1 in every 68 children have a disorder on the autism spectrum. Well, that's prompted many parents and pediatricians to focus on early intervention. Professionals say they try to identify signs and symptoms early so treatment can begin as soon as possible. But for some parents, it can sometimes feel like it takes too long to meet the right people and get their child evaluated. In our app of the week, we are learning about Cognoa, and we are joined by Brent Vaughn, CEO, and Dr. Dennis Saul, scientific founder. Dennis, we'll start with you here. Where was the seed planted? Is this all about my child's development being on track? Was that the start?
The start was the realization that the average age of diagnosis of conditions like autism that you just mentioned is roughly 4.5 years old in the United States, and that's far beyond when we can actually do the diagnosis, and it's well past developmental windows of brain plasticity, brain development, where early intervention can have the biggest impact.
So when do you want early intervention to take place? So you were talking about age 2.
As early as 2 is definitely the age you want to get started.
Okay, so let's talk about the app, and I want to bring up a couple questions and tell me how this idea works. So it's on my phone, and let's go to the first question here. We can see, and I can't really see it from the screen there, but does Sam pick up objects to show you or others? And then the next one says, describe Sam's level of eye contact. So Brent, just kind of tell me exactly what you're looking for from the interaction with someone who is answering these questions at home. How does it work?
Well, these are the types of questions that pediatricians use to screen children and speak with parents to try to understand children's behavior. And the key is really to be able to understand what the child's development milestones are and whether or not they're hitting those development milestones when the pediatrician would expect them to.
Okay.
And so what we've done is we've built an app that takes the most predictive questions based on the science that Dr. Wall did out at Harvard, and we've put it together in a way that we've already helped over 100,000 parents understand whether or not their child is meeting their developmental milestones, and then they can also understand what they can do to start helping their child's development, and they can do it all in the comfort and privacy of their own home.
So when I answer all the questions and then I hit like an enter button, and then I get an answer that says what?
Yeah,
For example,
most of the parents are told your child is on track. It looks like everything is great.
Okay.
And since the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that every child be screened at 18, 24, and 30 months, for a lot of them, they learn that things are on track and they just come back and do it again 6 months later.
Got it.
For the parents that do have concerns, we can get back to them and show them the areas, whether it be speech development or socialization with other children. We can show them the areas where it looks like their child may not be hitting their developmental milestones, and that gives them the information they need to go back and have the right conversations with their pediatrician. And if there is a diagnosis that is ultimately going to happen, it helps that happen sooner when it can do the most good.
And this app is also creating conversation between parents.
That's
out
exactly.
there, kind of a social forum.
That's exactly right. It creates a compartmentalized social network, if you will, of parents like me or kids like mine. And so that parents can really learn from other parents about what it means to help your child maintain healthy development.
Is there something to say, though, that in essence you are removing the face of the physician initially? Or is this about really, I can't even get access to physicians, so, well, here's a way to start?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why so many children aren't getting screened is pediatricians just don't have time. They're so busy and they see so many kids. And we've actually had pediatricians start reaching out to us saying, can we get parents to do your assessment before they come in, and then I can discuss the answers with them. We also hear from parents every day that their child acts differently in the doctor's office. And so being able for them to answer the questions, provide information based on the child's natural behavior in the home really helps, because when the pediatrician is in for just a couple minutes, sometimes the child acts quite differently and the pediatrician just doesn't see the key behaviors.
Dennis, the science behind it at Harvard, I mean, how accurate are we talking about? How often is this app really right? For sure that we know.
Based on the testing that we've done so far, which is fairly extensive, it's been right about 96% of the time. So this is, this technology we developed, we tested in a variety of different contexts at Harvard, but also more recently in other contexts here in the local area and at Stanford, where I am now as a professor. And we've been able to document again and again that the sensitivity of the app is very high, and its ability to differentiate between different developmental conditions that are concerning at these early ages of child development is also very high.
What about raising money, real quick? Are you guys able to do it? Is it hard?
Yeah, we were very lucky. We raised a round to start the company from a group out in the Boston area that was familiar with Dr. Wall's work when he was still at Harvard.
Right.
And they've just taken a long-term view that really what they want us to do is figure out how to develop a platform that can be used by every parent and to be able to do it all around the world, to allow parents to understand what they can be doing at home. Because all the studies show, and actually some of the studies have published since we started the company, that of all of the factors that correlate with the diagnosis, it's when the parent expresses a concern early, that's the most predictive factor. And so it turns out when we think that mothers are right, turns out mother usually is.
Well, it's funny you say that, because at home, I'm, the father of 2 kids. I'm always like, well, we got a doctor appointment, in 2 months, and then we just drop the conversation. So in essence, the conversation continues at home with Cognoa.
Exactly.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Brent Vaughn, Dr. Wall, I appreciate you taking the time.